All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. Roma Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the Electrify Expo that we just got back from yesterday.
Yep.
Before we do that, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to start hitting this hard at the beginning of every video. It's really helping us. We've had like 30% subscriber growth in the last few weeks, which is huge for us. We're going to keep hammering it because it really helps us show our contacts in the industry that the channel is reaching people. So do that. Help us get the algorithm going by liking the videos and commenting. There's been great discussion in the comments on our videos, and that really helps us do our next video to know what kinds of things you're interested in. So please do that. Electrify Expo, Brian.
Well, before we do that, I do want to
Oh,
own up to something real quick
okay.
because this last week we posted a video, our follow-on Ram Charger video,
Yeah.
and you guys jumped all over it. You watched it. We had a ton of new subscribers from that, and if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go listen to it. Okay, because the audio is great, but
Maybe don't watch it.
maybe not watch it because several of you rightly pointed out that for some reason when we uploaded that video, the audio about halfway through got out of sync of the video. And we've gone back to the source material and it's fine.
We don't know why.
We have no idea why when that got uploaded. So if you survived the great audio mishap of 2024 on Romer, and you can put up with the fact that we're in this janky garage studio setup,
Right.
you're our tribe already. So we really do
Yeah.
appreciate you watching and subscribing to the channel. It's just been a tremendous amount of support from that. So thank you.
Yeah, and help us out here because we've noticed our Garage Talk episodes that we've done are actually some of our most
You
popular
guys like them?
videos. And we're trying to figure out, is it because you like this format or is it just the subject matter? Is
Yeah.
it the vehicles we're talking about? So whatever that is, let us know in the comments.
Exactly. It would be very helpful. So let's talk about Electrify Expo and what it is. And here's how we're going to do this. We're going to roll through a ton of footage that we captured yesterday while we were down in Austin at Circuit of the Americas. And we're just going to throw it up on the screen. We'll pause. We'll be in and out of this as we kind of run through a bunch of different things. We saw a bunch of cars, a bunch of new products, a little bit of everything. And hopefully you guys like that.
Yeah.
Sound good? All right. So we'll pop through this and we're just going to jump start the video here. And like I said, it might be a little bit goofy. But talk about the setting a little bit. It was a beautiful day. It was a Saturday down in Austin.
Yeah, it was a great day at Circuit of the Americas. A interesting choice to have this, but people really liked it. Ford had their own kind of setup going,
Yep.
which was neat because they were really pushing the new Rally edition of the Ford Mustang Mach-E. So that was cool. There were drives. You got to drive on the track sometimes.
Got to see a ton of cars,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't just about cars. It was all kinds of different experiences.
No, different experiences and different products surrounding electrification, solar, stuff like that, which we'll see later on.
Yeah.
The Mach-E. Ford, I thought, did a great job with their setup because they had this sort of mock rally course set up outside the track where
For the Rally E.
for them
For the rally.
Yeah.
Mach-E Rally. Let's
Yeah.
get the name right.
Which is a car I kind of made fun of in a YouTube short a few weeks ago because I was like, why does this car exist? And I still don't really know why it exists, but I now I know that it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that. We got
Yeah.
some great footage of what this was actually all about.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, like we said, we'll jump back to this. We've got plenty of footage of the Mach-E Rally, not only just static footage, but also on the course. But then we started to actually walk through where all the cars were set up and got some exposure to not just existing cars, but future cars. I shouldn't say future. This is the EX30 from Volvo. It's already out, and we'll come back to it. But then we got to walk through a bunch of vendors. We got to see a bunch of charging infrastructure, different electrification products. In fact, I'll pause right here.
Yeah.
This might be the coolest thing that we saw
It
at the
was
show.
my favorite thing. I thought this was a really cool idea.
And it's going to take some explanation because this was this vendor, EO Canopy. They didn't have a lot of material. They had their website up on their laptop, and they said that they were building a prototype of this product. Why don't you tell them what this product actually is?
So this was kind of the best indication of what it is. We have it. I don't know if you can see it but so the scale is really jacked up. This is a car back behind this open front trailer. Okay, just to give you an idea of the scale, it's a trailer. It's got a huge solar array on top of it. It's got huge battery storage, and what it is it's not a trailer that's meant to be pulled around all the time. It's really meant to be pulled into place and left for long periods of time.
That's right.
And to sit and collect solar energy, and then to essentially be a little place to camp and a little place to charge your electric vehicle.
Yeah,
right?
think about if you have a hip camp somewhere. You got some
Yeah.
property, or there's a state park that's pretty remote, like Big Bend Ranch State Park is a completely remote area. You could take 3 or 4 of these out there, set them up fully remote, and have a little shelter and a place for people with electric vehicles to charge their car. And do you remember what the total battery capacity was that they said? I think it was
huge.
It was
enough.
around 160 kilowatt, 170 kilowatt hours. It was in that range.
Yeah. So enough to fully charge a lot of electric vehicles on the market.
On the batteries that are contained in this little pod.
Right.
And you can see it's got the solar array, so it's constantly refreshing.
Yeah, the solar array was a massive amount of wattage. It was
I don't remember
1,000 watts or something like that. I don't remember. Did she say? I don't want to quote them. I don't think, but it was
cool.
kilowatts.
It was really cool.
And the panels rotate with the sun. They're on a some kind of time
sun tracking device, and motorized. So really cool idea, and I just love the creativity of folks. Because we go to these shows, we're looking for that futuristic vision for getting outdoors, going on long road trips with electric vehicles. That isn't all that possible today, but with solutions like this, it's certainly going to become more and more mainstream, and something that people can actually do.
EO Canopy, look them up.
Yeah, check them out. And like we said, there wasn't a lot on hand. It was just basically a table with a laptop. And then we got into electric bikes.
These guys were cool.
Yeah. Now let's back up here real quick. I think it's worth spending just a second here, and we'll show you some video footage later
of 2 bears on a truck.
That's right. That's right.
We look like riding these things.
Yeah. So Jackrabbit Bikes. What was their catchphrase? I'm trying to remember. I think we come back to it later.
I hope so, because it was funny.
It's these little BMX style bikes with drop-in batteries. We'll show you some of that footage later, and us actually riding them. Hadn't had a lot of experience with e-bikes, but they were all over this show. So it's not just about cars, like we said.
Right.
All modes of transportation. So yeah, like we said, we'll pop back in here and talk a little bit more about these guys later. But then we actually get into some of the driving and on the track itself. Right. So this was an experience that we had with the new Polestar 3. We both got to drive it.
Yeah.
Let's pause there for a second, because driving at Electrify Expo, we were really looking forward to it. How many I bet there was probably 7 or 8 manufacturers.
Easily.
Well over a dozen models.
Tons.
How many did we get to drive?
We got to drive 2.
2. And how long did we stand in line?
About 3 hours total.
About 3 hours total, 2 cars.
Yeah.
Now listen, we were there on media credentials. Okay, so we did not pay to get into this event. We didn't have to pay for parking. We were there. We didn't spend our own money. If I had spent my own money, I would have been pretty pissed at that.
Yes. Yeah, and now I would say part of that long wait was we chose to stand in line for the Porsche Taycan.
We did. We still spent almost 45 minutes just waiting on the Polestar 3, but we spent over 2 hours waiting on the Porsche.
Yes, which was the most popular line there, and for good reason. Because, guys, it's at Circuit of the Americas. There's track drives at Circuit of the Americas for EVs. Let's find the coolest EV on the market today. And for me, that's the Porsche Taycan. Let's take it out on the track. And a lot of people had the same idea, except we didn't get to take it out on the track.
We did not.
No.
So I think we got more footage of some of the driving.
Yeah.
We did take the Polestar 3 on the track, and that was a really cool experience. So yes, if you're going out, maybe hit that gate early and go
Uh-huh.
straight to the cars and get in the lines of the ones you absolutely want to drive.
Right.
And that will help, make sure that you have a good experience. All right, so let's back up to the first thing we did in the morning, which was a Cars and Coffee with Ford. And like we said, they have the Mach E Rally on hand, and with the dirt course, and a rally car driver on hand.
Yeah.
So we all popped in the car, and he took us on a hell of a ride, and had a lot of fun on the dirt. I'm sure quite a few people actually threw up.
Yeah. And look, I mean, like we said, it was a pro driver. This guy, I'm sure he had a ton of fun doing donuts, but he's probably going at like quarter speed of what
Yes.
he could actually do in this car. And it was still a pretty big thrill going through the corners. But yeah, he slows down quite a bit going to these hairpins so he can throw it sideways and not scare the hell out of people that they're going to fly off of that berm into the parking lot. But how many? He probably did that, what, 200 times? And
He probably did.
it got
Car
quite
got quite dirty. You see, it's got some all-terrain tires on it, a little bit of a lift on the car, and a giant rally spoiler.
Yeah.
Now, this is the footage from inside the car, and I apologize in advance. It's kind of all, it's very jerky because we were flying. I think we catch a little air
right here.
Right here.
We definitely catch some
did.
air. We could see it from the parking lot. Other people going through. Every single time that car went over that, it caught a little bit of air. So I don't know if is there an electric rally series or something that's getting developed that they want to develop this for?
Well, there probably will be.
Probably.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
So they're just ahead of the curve. Again, I think Ford's just trying to have fun a little bit. They're trying to, expand the type of consumer and, racing interest that's out there built around Mustang. Mustang is in all kinds of series.
Yeah.
And so I think they're just trying to get the word out. And this is a unique way to do it. And we do like to see car companies have fun.
We do.
Especially around electrification. Dodge has got the new Charger coming out, and it makes a bunch of fart noises out the back. No, it's got enhanced exhaust,
fake exhaust coming out the back of it. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So we left the Ford exhibit and headed into the show, and like we said, started to have started to walk through the different manufacturers areas. And what you're looking at right here is the EX30. Now I'll pause here for a second because the EX30 has been launched overseas. It's in Europe. It's been there for a couple of months. It was not supposed to come to the US until later in 2025. But just this past week, we found out that they are going to start delivering this vehicle to Volvo purchasers by the end of 2024. So it's going to show up in the next few weeks. We're here in mid-November, and we will start to see these on the road pretty soon. Now, it is a very small car. We could spend a little bit of time talking about this in more detail because I think I captured some video inside and out of the car. I did because my wife was really interested in it, and we can talk more later about why we walked away going, this one's not really for us. But it certainly wasn't the star of the show as far as we're concerned in the Volvo booth. That's coming up here in just a second because Casey instantly gravitated to the vehicle behind the EX30. You can see him back there, and it's right here.
What do they call it? It's the EX90.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but the all EV
version of the XC90, right? Which is a car in PHEV trim that I've been really interested in lately, and it started to look at maybe for one of our next cars. But then now the EX90 is coming out, and we crawled around this quite a bit. It's a really nice, a good true competitor to the EV9, which I think is the best 3-row EV on the market right now. And so they're clearly, going after that. Same seating configuration as you get in the EV9, but very nice inside. Very luxurious. Bowers and Wilkins speakers in this version.
The materials in this car were exceptional.
Yeah.
And it's what you've come to expect at the higher end trims for Volvo, who plays in that premium space but steps up into the luxury market, and they certainly did with the 90.
With that.
So and we'll talk a little bit more, like we said, later on about some of the other products in that portfolio between Volvo and Polestar. But then right next to the Volvo booth, we stumbled upon something that was completely unexpected. And Casey, you need to tell them what that is. I mean, it's right here
Yeah,
on the badge, but
right.
we'll
So,
zoom in a little bit.
so unexpected that we were the first non-Lexus people to see this vehicle. This is the prototype of the new LX700H. So LX600 has been out for a few years now. They're going to offer it with the hybrid system that's the same one that's in the Tundra and the Toyota Sequoia, and that maybe we hope is coming to the GX550 or something like that.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So this is the prototype of it. We got to spend some time in it. Look, the LX600 is a really nice car. This one has, look, we got to look at the specs, a lot of horsepower, almost 600 pounds of torque, 8,000 pounds of towing.
It's going to be a beast.
It's going to be a beast with marginally better gas mileage than the LX600.
That's not really why we're all that interested in the hybrid.
No. It's because of the battery. We want it for outdoor applications, and there is going to be an overtrail version of this. Overtrail's only going to be available in the hybrid, which is nice.
I'll pause here for a second. Keep going.
Yeah, because you're going to get with an LX6 or 700 hybrid overtrail, you're going to have a third row, which you can't get in a GX550 in overtrail form. The overtrail is going to have triple lockers. So first time in a Land Cruiser, in a flagship Land Cruiser platform like the 200, now the 300, not these Prado ones that are out now. First time in that platform having triple lockers since the 80 series in the late 90s. And so people are going to be stoked about that. Can't get that in the new Land Cruiser that's out in America or the GX platform. And but this thing was really nice. This is a launch interior, I think. It's a new color option.
It's a new color combination.
Yeah.
It was the blend of the dark black matte wood. We had chocolate leather. We had the ivory leathers, and it just looked spectacular.
It looks amazing. We were just in the GX550. It's a really nice car. It's not on this level at all.
Right.
Now, one thing we missed in our video that I've got to talk about here, and I'll tell you when to pause this.
Right here.
Yeah. So I mentioned in our walk around that, one thing people like about the new LX600 versus the old LX570s is the third row folding flat into the floor like a traditional third row instead of up into the thing, which is kind of cumbersome and weird. And while that's true, I completely missed that that's not true on the LX700. And it is kind of
hard to see.
But normally, like, this is just pivoted straight down, okay? The seat back is folded straight down. In the regular LX600, this folds and this kind of moves down and forward into the floor to give you a flat floor. That's not going to be the case with this. This, because of the battery, I'm assuming, is basically the seats are resting on the hybrid battery in the back. This is going to work like the current Sequoia, which doesn't fold flat and relies on some little shelf things that they have to make a flat surface. So what you would have in the Sequoia is a shelf that's on this level and space under it in the back behind the third row that you can shove stuff. That doesn't bother me at all, but it gets quite a bit of hate online. The new Sequoia does.
Yeah.
So people are probably going to be disappointed to see that, but it's necessary for the hybrid setup.
Yeah. And so we said that we're really interested in this, right? We're not running out and buying one of these things.
No.
At least not for 20 years. But then we might.
Yeah. Well, and maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe in like
news.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe.
All right.
Because this is going to be 2025.
And it's going to be really expensive. The 600s are
600s
outrageously
are
expensive.
Just over $100,000.
Yeah.
And then they can go up to like 135 if you get the crazy luxury with the second row reclining thing and no third row, which we won't go for, and which won't be on the overtrail, right? The overtrail will be more base, but I bet you it's 115 somewhere in that range.
It's going to be a
expensive.
very, very expensive vehicle.
Yeah.
But
so I can't wait to buy one with 120,000 miles on it.
Yeah, and be able to use that hybrid system when you're out camping. You're going to have a decent amount of battery capacity to run some things off of at camp, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but some.
Not a lot, not like a traditional, like a PHEV or something like that, but, run the generator. You've got a generator now. You know, let's talk about this just for a sec. Something they've mentioned that's kind of important to people shopping for a 300 series is that unlike a lot of hybrids like this that put the electric motor where the
There's a
torque
little bit
converter is
better
there,
view.
it's a better
Sorry,
view. I
sorry
don't know if
about
you can
that.
see. So this
It's
is the
yeah,
level, and this is the level of the floor in the back, and this is where your seats are going to
yeah.
be. There's usually a gap right here below the seats in the regular 608 or 600, and it's gone now. It's taken up by battery. So, but I was saying, so normally when they put that electric motor where the torque converter is, that becomes your starter and your alternator.
Hmm.
And that's not going to be the case on this. It's going to have a standalone alternator and starter motor for basically as backup, so that if you lose the hybrid system or something goes wrong with it, your car's not a brick. So
And they
with a
did make a big deal out of that when
uh-huh
in the press release and in the marketing
yeah
materials. They're positioning this vehicle right where they should for the traditional Land Cruiser
right
LX crowd. This thing has got to be ultra reliable.
mm-hmm.
You basically can't break it. That's the engineering mission. So, we'll see.
Yep.
Proof is in the pudding, but it's going to be a really cool product.
Yeah.
All right, so right next to Lexus, we moved right through Porsche, and we couldn't keep our jaws off the floor because Porsche just makes beautiful vehicles. They make incredible products, and they make incredible EVs. And I think a lot of times, for some reason, they're kind of forgotten because they're not a mainstream vehicle, right? They're definitely
And they're
luxury
real
performance.
expensive.
They're really expensive. But a tremendous amount of engineering has gone into the Macan and the Taycan as well, right? So
Yeah, and the Macan EV is going to compete pretty well with
it is.
some of the similar cars. But dude, that interior, they
Yeah,
had it in the Macan also, and I couldn't stop looking at it. It was a beautiful color.
it
It's
is gorgeous.
like a plum purple something, and it is so good.
It is, and it didn't really matter which exterior color you had it with. It just
No,
looked amazing. We got to see one of the cars with this, this purple plum interior and like a cement color on the outside, and
yeah,
it was beautiful.
yes,
What's really neat, and I guess we can talk a little bit more about. Well, we didn't really get to experience the Porsche from a driving perspective, but where Porsche has really excelled is in their 800-volt architecture for their EVs. They are the fastest charging EVs on the road today, and they continue to improve on that. They do a tremendous job just in the overall architecture
yeah.
and the platform that they develop, which has carried over into Audi. You're going to start to see some of the other products in the Volkswagen portfolio be able to take advantage of what they've done.
Yeah, we should do it. And we should briefly touch on that because this is something, if you're thinking about EVs, not a lot of people understand when we talk about the charging architecture. They think of the speed of the charging really having to do with the charger, and that's not necessarily the case. You need a charger capable of
Mm-hmm.
supplying that 800 volts, and you need the onboard charging architecture capable of taking that 800 volts. So when you're looking at cars, it's not just a matter of where are you charging it that's determining how fast it will charge. It's also the charging architecture, and the faster the car can accept the energy from the charger, typically the more expensive it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The exception to that is Kia. Kia has been able to roll out a pretty effective solution for charging speed. It's not an 800 volt system. We won't get into the nuance of that, but
Right.
it's 400 volts, but it can do a really good job
Mm-hmm.
charging. Okay. But either way, Porsche, we just enjoyed sitting in these cars, enjoying the craftsmanship, the sport approach to the platforms, and yeah, I think if we won the lottery tomorrow, I'd probably have a couple of these in the garage.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic.
Yeah.
Of
And the
course,
GT version.
Tesla was
Yes.
at Electrify Expo, is right down the road from their Gigafactory where the Cybertruck is rolling out. So we won't spend a whole lot of time on that because rumor has it, and I got to pause this, rumor has it, we're going to have a Cybertruck here in about the next month to do a
Yes.
review on the Cybertruck. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
The title of that video might be Change My Mind. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, but please subscribe.
Yeah.
We will have a Cybertruck soon.
Yeah.
And we'll get to tow with it. Might even get, we'll say soft roady with it.
Soft road.
Probably not hardcore off road, but
Yeah.
yeah. So subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, do it.
Please.
All right, so
Okay.
Rivian was on hand. Rivian had a huge presence.
They did.
And so not just in their booth, but they brought the goods for driving. They probably had 15 trucks and SUVs there, by far and away the most of any manufacturer. So they were making sure people got to try the product. You know, the R1S, we owned one, we reviewed it. We've been in the R1T, we've driven that. They're phenomenal vehicles. But they brought this to the show today and or yesterday and today. And this is the new R2. So this is their new smaller SUV crossover.
Look at that window.
Drop down window. Everybody loves that. And this will be much more mainstream for them. They're going to go after a different market segment. My wife was there on hand. She's walking around chatting about it, and she absolutely loved the R2, at least from a size standpoint. Okay, she doesn't want to drive a big SUV. We don't need that anymore. But really enjoyed getting to see that, walk around it, check out the features. And if I had any complaint about the R2, is that I just don't think it looks as good as the R1. So the proportion,
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely more crossover-y looking.
Yeah.
It's lower to the ground. In truth, I had to do kind of a double take on it because we were like, oh, the new R2's here. I looked at it. I immediately thought R1 because the proportions are so similar in a lot of cases. And then I looked and there was an R1 and I was like, oh, no, very different. And then even when the video just scrolled there, I was like, man, it's a much bigger vehicle.
Yeah.
But R2, great looking car. And I think they'll sell a ton because it's going to compete really good in that size space, which is a very competitive market.
It will. They're still very far out. They've got to have a new plant for this that they want to build in Georgia. I think we're still at least 2 years away from that product hitting the market. One thing we missed out on is the R3. They had an R3X in Austin, but not at the show. It was downtown, and then we didn't quite make it there. I wish they had brought it to the actual expo where there was 30,000 people. That would have made a little bit more sense. All right, so Polestar was there, and like we've talked a lot about them already. This is the 3, and it's just a really sharp-looking crossover, sport crossover. Right? It's definitely almost hot hatch.
Yeah,
big hot.
Big hot hatch. It drove like one. Well,
this is the 4. Hang on, this is the 4. So the video is quickly cycling through. Yeah. So let's talk about the 3 for a second. Right. And we'll talk about what we thought of that. Yeah,
because we got to drive that on the Circuit of the Americas track. I was hugely impressed with it. I asked you while we were walking through the Polestar booth, like, why does this brand exist? I don't get it. Because initially it was like, this is going to be the Volvo electric offshoot. And then Volvo's now got their whole own range of electric cars. It's like, why do we have this other thing? You said this is a bit more like...
It's more technical and performance, right? So if you remember where Polestar came from, it was the performance arm of the Volvo brand. They would supply suspension components and make their cars a little edgier and a little bit more fun to drive. So I think the idea was, well, we have this performance technical sub-brand or supplier. Let's take that and let's make it the pure EV brand within the portfolio because, you know, the consumer's mind has a hard time sort of wrapping its head around EV. So if you kind of separate it and you make it its own thing, sometimes people can just go to that and understand a little bit better. Here's what I'm getting. Now, I will tell you, I don't think any manufacturer has done this really well. And I think as you know, they're sharing platforms and they're sharing components, and now you've got a lot of pure EV and hybrid versions within Volvo. It blurs the lines a little bit, but I'm going to fall back to the fact that Polestar is still that performance-oriented product, and they're EV from the ground up. Like these are, you know, they're, I don't know how to describe it any more than that, to be honest. It even gets a little bit confusing when you go to a dealership because they're right there together, and one side of that dealership will not talk to you about the other product that's sitting right on the same floor. They won't talk to you about it. You have to go online and do your schedule your test drives and
God.
do everything for a Polestar. So now this is something that we've been very interested in. We love the Polestar 2. We wanted to see this car. My wife wanted to drive it, and it was a phenomenal driving experience.
It was the most engaging electric car from behind the steering wheel that I've gotten to drive. Like if not for the lack of noise and vibration from an engine in it, like electric cars can tend to feel very kind of muted and golf cart like a
Yes.
little bit. This didn't feel like that to me at all. It had a great seating position and a nice, small, sporty steering wheel that
Yes.
felt really cool. And I loved driving it on the track. It felt really good.
Felt smaller than it is.
Yeah, for sure. Better than the BMW pure EVs that I've driven,
Yep.
which that's supposed to be their thing, right? But I thought this felt more raw and engaging from like a sporty standpoint.
And somehow it manages to do that, but also still being very serene and quiet.
Yeah,
but not in a
very.
not in an it has a active noise cancellation system in it. There's 23 speakers in this system, the Bowers and Wilkins system, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. If you just have dead space, then you hear all the other things in the car in an electric car, and it can feel very, like you said, kind of golf carty and sound and that way too. But with active noise cancellation, you can make it be very quiet and serene, but not dead.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you've ever experienced a noise cancellation system in an office setting, it's very different than just one without it. I don't know how to describe that any better. It sounds right. So they tune it. But yeah, it just felt great. And I think I'd like to come back to this maybe a little bit later, because I think we had a little bit of footage, and when it pops up, I'll show it to you. It may be sooner rather than later, but we'll see. But I want to come back to something that my wife pointed out when she was actually driving the car around ergonomics and buttons and screens and everything else that we talked about on the way home last night. So we'll do that. They did have the 4. The 4 is coming soon. It's actually going to sit below the 3 in the hierarchy at Polestar. It is more of a sedan, a sports sedan. It has no rear window, so you can't actually see out the back. It's all digital on the mirrors.
Oh, wow.
It's very sleek. You get in it, it sits lower to the ground. I think it's just supposed to kind of feel more like a car and a sports car. So I don't know what to say. We didn't get to drive it. It looks cool. It looks like the other products, to be honest. And the materials inside and everything look really nice.
Yeah.
Yep. There she is. She's checking out the Polestar 3. So here, we waited in line. We got to drive one. Casey's taking one out on the track. Yep. Folks are loading up here. And what'd you think about the track experience?
It was a lot of fun. Apparently,
here it is.
Yeah, a lot depended on who you were behind on the track, I guess, because you had a little bit better experience than I did. I didn't really care. I've been on the track before. I haven't been on the track before. I've driven it on like video games, right? And I watch F1 when it comes through here every year. So it was really fun. They always say when you're watching stuff on television, you don't understand how much elevation change is because the TV washes it out. That's so true. The hill, it was a really fun track to drive. And like I said, the Polestar felt great. I was stuck behind some guy driving a Hummer who couldn't drive. And so I had to do a lot of slowing down and waiting for them to get out of my way so I could have a little bit of fun every once in a while.
So you could drive Hummer, SUV, and Hummer trucks,
Ford
EV
Maverick trucks,
Ford Maverick trucks,
Cyber trucks.
Well, no, hang on. The GMCs you could drive on the track. You couldn't drive the Cybertruck on the track.
Oh, okay.
But you could drive the GMCs on the track.
You
These
definitely
huge
could drive
SUVs and trucks.
But you could definitely drive Rivians on the track.
Yeah, but not the Porsche.
Not the Porsche.
Not the Porsche. Okay, well, make it make sense, Porsche.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about, but we did get to drive these. We could not film on the track. That was a restriction of the driving event, so I don't have any footage of that. But I did capture this. So this is Lynn. She's driving the Polestar 3. And I want to point out something. This is the exact same technology setup that you saw earlier in the Volvo. What are we calling it again? The EX90?
EX90.
EX90 Okay, it's the exact same, basically, steering wheel setup. You've got the center screen here with very limited information, and then you've got the vertical center stack screen as well. Exactly the same. Works exactly the same. If you got out of one and got into the other, you almost wouldn't know the difference. Besides some of the materials around and
the
you know
logo in front of you.
and the logo in front of you. Okay, so she really liked this car. She loved the way it drove. But on the way home last night, we're talking about just ergonomics, and she's trying to wrap her head around this right here. Okay, because it's a small screen, it's right in front of you, and it has limited information, kind of core information. And some of the other cars that we've driven in this class, or that people cross shop in the EV space, like Cadillac Lyriq, for example, and even the Kia EV6, trying to keep it.
Yeah.
They do play in the same space,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
They take a different approach to these screens. Everybody's got screens, and everybody's throwing information at you. And this was very simple. And so, we were talking about that because she's going, well, I don't know what's better, right? And she kind of feels overwhelmed by some of the other products like Lyriq, that you can customize a big old 12-inch screen in front of you with 3 different areas. You can have maps, and you can have driver safety systems, and you can have all your trip information, and it's all stacked up there. And then you've got everything going on in the middle as well, and it's all configurable. But Polestar and Volvo take a very different approach. Even on the center stack, there is a tile capability, but for the most part, they kind of limit what you can access all at once. So you kind of have to jump back and forth into things. And then this in the middle is very simple. Not to the extreme of Tesla of taking this away completely, right, and putting your speed over here, but giving you just the basic information. And just something to think about as you're shopping, especially if you need to take whoever's going to be driving with you with these cars and really get comfortable with the technology. And I don't know where I sit on what the best approach is. I think it just depends on who you are.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll say I liked this one because I don't like when there's a ton of information crammed on that screen and then obscured by the steering wheel.
Yes.
I hate that.
I do hate that.
So I kind of like this setup. Now, one thing I'll gripe about is if you look at the buttons on the steering wheel, one, they're not buttons, they're capacitive touch, but whatever. So something though that drove me crazy because the lady helping us out when we got in the car to get it set up and get your seating position where you want it, she had to go into the screen for me and set it up so that, because these buttons control your steering wheel movements up and down, left and in and out. They're not intuitive, and you have to be in the menu screen for them to work that way. Otherwise, they're working volume or track or radio or something. I don't know, but I flipping hate that. I hated it in the Rivian R1S, and I hate it in this. Give me a button so that I can get in the car, and if the steering wheel's not where I want, I can fix it in like 5 seconds.
Don't
make me do that.
So glad you said that because I had the exact same experience. He's walking me through how to adjust it, and it was still really finicky, the behavior of the buttons and the interaction with the screen. And I'm like, man, come on, we can make this a lot easier. Now, the counter argument to some of the idiosyncrasies of the system is you might only be doing it once. Right? If you've got memory functions and things like that, you kind of get everything set up, and then there's core functions that you get comfortable with where they are over time. But the reality is you're not going to just hand this key to somebody and they're going to be able to go figure all this stuff out. And that can be a problem. The other thing I've just noticed with Volvos and Polestars in general that kind of makes me nuts is I have gotten in the car and I cannot figure out how to change the audio source to like FM radio and back. It is multiple steps to do it. And the only thing I can think of is that it's really designed, and that's hard to see for you guys, but it's designed to be multifunction. You get your radio presets, you get your XM radio presets, your Sirius XM. It's all configurable, and you kind of get them all in there together. But again, that takes some setup. It takes some time. It takes multiple button clicks. If you just want to get in the car and find the FM radio station, it's not that easy. All right, let's see where we go from here. So we did get out and drive. Everybody enjoyed driving the Polestar 3. Yeah, I think
Here.
Lynn's got a little bit of video of me driving down to
This
the
doesn't
start
even
line.
do the screen justice. The resolution on the map was so good.
And very fast. Like it was
Yes.
ultra responsive.
Uh-huh.
And there are the older, like the original Polestar 2s, the software in them was pretty laggy. We're way past that. We're actually we're seeing some really good performance from those systems. All right, so BMW brought their electric bikes, which was cool, just to walk around and see. Couldn't ride them, but
No.
they announced these about I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was cool to see them. And we had dirt bikes, electric dirt bikes.
Tons of electric bikes.
Now we got to
All
talk about
kinds.
this.
Yeah, these guys were awesome. Oh wait, well that's a
Well,
different.
it's the same guys, but they had a
Okay.
bunch of different products. So they had older automobiles
Yeah.
converted,
Uh-huh.
and this to me was the highlight
Yeah.
of their conversion.
Subaru Brat with so they've taken the engine out. I wish we could if you've read anything about
I think I got a shot of it.
yeah, EV conversions, there you go. A good shot of the motor. And I asked the guy, he wasn't sure because there's companies now that supply you these motors. You can buy them online. What they essentially are, though, is they were originally designed for like forklifts, electric forklifts. And if you want to get really cheap with your old car EV conversion, you can find like old decommissioned forklifts and take the motor and get adapter plates that mount it straight up to the original transmission. So this is just a motor bolted to the input shaft of the transmission that was already on the car.
Yeah, really cool. This company specialized this. They're out of California. I'm trying to remember. I think we've got a shot of the name and trying to remember a lot of information here. But just a really cool idea. Talked to one of the engineers, and he kind of said, when he was in college, he had reached out to these guys because they wanted to do a project car at school.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he ended up working for them after graduation and doing all different kinds of conversions.
And I asked him, I was like, well, so what are you doing? Are you doing kits? Do you do them yourself? What's the deal? And he's like, all of it.
Yeah.
We'll try to link them in the description because it was a really cool company. And like, we can kind of do whatever you need to do. You want us to put together a kit for you? We'll do that. If they have a shop, I guess they'll do the conversions themselves. Really cool company.
We did see Grounded. So Grounded is a company that is now taking GM Bright Drop delivery trucks and converting them for camping and long haul overlanding adventuring. Not really overlanding because they're not really set up for off road capability. But what was unique about their approach to this? Here we go.
Oh yeah, these guys have converted this.
We'll come back to
Porsche.
Grounded in a second.
Oh my god.
Here we go. It is Flash Drive. I was trying to remember the name.
There we go.
Flash Drive is doing all the conversions. And just a fantastic job. They had a lot of different products here.
Beautifully restored car already, and then here's the battery pack.
Yeah, so everything's customized for the platform that they are converting. A nice
DeLorean.
I think they had two of them on hand,
Yeah.
which was cool. Yeah. All right, more bikes. This one was Legacy EV bikes, and again, you could just kind of walk around. Yeah, that's their claim, the 3D printed e-motorcycle. That came out of a university project. Just really cool to kind of see the creativity walking around and checking out these products. All right, so we talked about Jackrabbit earlier. Here you go. This is Casey going for a ride on the bike, little BMX style.
Yeah.
No pedals.
No pedals, just little.
These are just electric bikes.
Don't I look like a bike expert? I look so cool.
Look at him, man. You really handled the cones pretty well, man.
Yeah, so good.
But up to 20 miles of range on these things out of I think the highest range bike that they sell, and you're going to get a view of that here. The owner of the company was willing to show us just some of the features of how it can fold in on itself a little bit and be more compact, and how the batteries actually work, being able to pop them out. And this is really important because one of the points they were making about these batteries is that they are TSA, FAA compliant. They're small enough that you can pop these out and you can take them with you in your backpack in the cabin of an airplane. And so you can charge them. You could take your bike. The bike can pack up small enough that you have a carrying case for it. So you can check the bike as luggage and you can take the batteries in your backpack, which is pretty cool. And it wasn't very heavy.
It wasn't very heavy, and it folds. You could see here the foot spikes that you ride on, right? And they fold up. And then actually he'll probably demo it here in a second. It folds flat. So the idea is just to get it narrow. So
That's
this
the
is the extended battery,
range.
which is not TSA compliant,
That's right. But
right?
these are.
But these are, and you can have 4 of them instead of 2 and be just as TSA compliant. So that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'll pop back here for a second because even Linz was having a fun time on the bikes, and this is something we're really interested in. If we had not wasted a tremendous amount of time waiting in line to drive cars, we probably would have spent more time looking at the bikes because there was probably 4 or 5 different bike manufacturers. They had a whole section of the Electrify Expo just set up to do some of that. And as we do more travel, either with our trailer or in the future, if we have a van or something like that, e-bikes, everybody has e-bikes now.
Yeah.
And they, now this is a pure no pedals, right? But there's plenty of options out there that you can also get some exercise. But if you're some part of the country that's at altitude and you're going up and down hills and you're not used to it, e-bikes really help you get around, especially as we get older. Okay. So very interested in what's going on here. Really cool company. All right. I think we even caught some video right after this of, what was the name of this company? Pikmin? The Pikmin EV trucks? It's about to pop up here on the screen.
Yeah.
Pikmin. The Pikmin.
Oh, these were cool.
It was so cool. Little micro trucks.
Yeah.
Little micro EV platforms.
I just wanted to put it in a backpack.
Look at that. So actually street legal on roads under 30?
30 or something.
Under
like
30.
That. Yeah, because that's as fast as it can go. It's like a golf cart, but it's got air conditioning and more like safety stuff. Cool little truck thing in the back. This thing was awesome.
Yeah, he had it really kitted out. You can get AC and then heat in these things too. And I'm trying to remember the range. He said something like 120, 130 miles, which is a little hard to believe, but
it's just because it's so slow.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's true. It's very slow. Yeah.
And it could tow a large amount. Again, because of the slow speeds, it could tow, I think he said 3 tons, so 6,000 pounds.
That's wild.
Yeah.
This is something you might have on a ranch property or something like that, somewhere that, I could see. I think in general, these trucks, though, if you kind of look around at some of the other versions, they're little work trucks. And they're going to come into play in little warehouse districts and things like that, where you're running around and you need to pull a little trailer or something of stuff too. So just to give you guys a little bit more flavor of some of the vehicles that were out there, obviously, driving, like we said, was pretty limited. There's the Macans lining up. Overall, I think for the expo, it was a lot of fun. Like we said, there were certain things that I think we would do different next time. We would have headed straight to the driving portion and been there first in line to get a couple of more drives in, and then spent the day walking through all the different exhibitor booths. So if you're going to do that in the future, these are all over the country. They're popping up now, and they're doing more and more of these events. It'll be great. Yeah, but you get to learn a lot about EVs one way or another.
Yeah, and we talked about, if we had spent our own money, whatever, it's not expensive to go either. We should point that out. It's like $20 for a ticket. It's not that bad,
right?
To get to go drive anything on the Circuit of the Americas track. That's pretty cool. And even you could buy like a family 4-pack for $60. So 15 a piece plus 15 for parking.
Right.
It's not that bad. To go spend a few hours, it would be fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, I think that's our video for Electrify Expo. Let's talk a little bit about the future, because we already mentioned we're probably going to have a Cybertruck video up, but we also are going to do a follow-up on the Scout EV platform. So really cool. We were able to reach out to Scout, and we probably will be involved in some things that they do here going forward, and we'll be able to bring that to you guys. But we're going to just do a little quick follow-up on some of the things that we're hearing about the Scout. Yeah, particularly the Scout Harvester.
Yes, because we made speculated when we did our video about their launch, about the Harvester, and it turns out they've already basically said a couple of those things are wrong, and so we're going to talk about that and the implications of it. So again, subscribe to the channel, please, so that you get notified about that.
All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Casey, do it.
Do it. Okay.
Awesome. Run over there and stop the video.
Okay.